Well, hello, everyone. Thanks so much for being here with us today. We are looking forward to our conversation. I'm Emily Sumner, and I'll be moderating today's discussion brought to you by TORSH, an online professional learning and coaching platform that thousands of early education and intervention organizations in 35 states are using to improve the use of evidence-based practices and boost outcomes for children. I'm honored to have with me today 4 incredible educators from the New Mexico Central Region Educational Cooperative. They are shortly going to share their experiences and learnings from implementing practice-based coaching to support the early childhood educators in their region. Before we meet them, I'm just going to do a brief introduction so you know a little bit about their background before we dive into our conversation. I'll start by introducing Katrina Gallegos. Katrina taught special education for 8 years for 3- and 4-year-olds. During that time, she designed and taught a learning to learn class that supported children on the autism spectrum. In her current role, she's dedicated to supporting coaches and teachers with practice-based coaching to enhance teaching practices that support all students' learning outcomes. Among her many strengths are the areas of social, emotional, and literacy practices. Katrina also hosts the Connections, the Heart of Early Childhood podcast, which if you haven't listened to it, I encourage you to do it. It is a great podcast that you can find on all the podcast channels. Katrina is joined by Terry Tapia, whose philosophy for early childhood education centers on ensuring that each and every young child in New Mexico's classrooms is ready to learn by having a strong sense of self and feeling competent and capable. For more than 20 years, Terry has led several educational programs, including NACCE's accredited preschools, tribal Head Start programs, New Mexico's tiered quality rating and improvement system, and the development of the Early Childhood Eclipse instructional coaching program, which supports over 800 early childhood and elementary educators across the state, and that we're going to hear a lot more about here shortly. Ginger Toll is also with us today. Ginger has years of teaching experience in preschool, elementary, and higher education. She currently supports coaches in implementing practice-based coaching for preschool teachers. Ginger also collaborates with stakeholders to ensure that all children have access to high-quality education in New Mexico. And we also have the pleasure of having Amanda Rotman with us today, whose background includes teaching experience in inclusive classrooms throughout New Mexico. With a dedicated focus on early childhood education, Amanda collaborates with stakeholders to ensure that all children have access to high-quality learning opportunities. So we are honored to have all 4 of these educators with us today, and I'm looking forward to the conversation. Let's start off by learning a little bit about the New Mexico Central Region Educational Cooperative, also known as CREC, and your coaching program. So Terry, maybe you want to give us a little background in the role that coaching is playing in supporting your work.
Thank you, Emily. Yes, just a little bit of history about the Central Region Educational Cooperative. We are one of 10 regional educational cooperatives that were established in 1984 by the New Mexico Department of Education. We provide support services to 7 rural districts and 4 state-supported programs, as well as the families that are served by them. And we do this by offering a variety of resources and services, including early childhood programs, pre-employment transition service training, technical assistance, and administrative support, and grant administration, and much more. And so our part in this is that the CREC is contracted by the New Mexico Early Childhood Education and Care Department and the Office of Special Education to provide practice-based coaching to New Mexico pre-K, special education preschool, and some Head Start programs in school-based settings. We also provide this coaching model to a cohort of about 100 preschool teachers in community-based programs. And then lastly, we have now been given the opportunity to provide this same model with a cohort of early elementary teachers in a team effort, teaming both the special education and general education teachers that are working with the same students. So in total in New Mexico, we have about 48 coaches that are supporting over 800 preschool educators and about 80 elementary teachers with the practice-based coaching model.
Wow, you are reaching a lot of educators, children, and families. So that is not a small task that you've undertaken there at CREC. So thank you for that background. One of the many things we're going to talk about today is that practice-based coaching. So what were some of the initial motivations or driving factors behind the decision to utilize practice-based coaching? Amanda, I think you've got some insights to share about that journey to practice-based coaching.
Absolutely. So we're on the 6th year of using practice-based coaching as our model, and we began working with early childhood educators in our state through a consultative model. But we were introduced by the Pyramid Consortium to practice-based coaching and realized that what we wanted was a model that would coach teachers in effective practices so that we could see teacher growth in practices. We focus in the areas of literacy and social emotional practices for teachers, and we coach them on a biweekly model, utilizing the TORSH platform to collect the video captured focused observations, as well as the reflection and feedback session or coaching that happens between the coach and the educator. We wanted to make sure we were driving change and that we weren't just supporting teachers, but really coaching them into what research says is best for young children. And we found over the last few years that it's really making a difference. We were using virtual coaching prior to COVID, which we all know sort of changed our reality to being on screen. But for our team, we were doing that before and recognized the value of being able to capture a teaching moment in a classroom, and then for the teacher to be able to observe themselves, reflect on it, make comments about their own practice, and then receive coaching from a coach through the TORSH platform.
I definitely want to add in.
Awesome.
Oh, and I definitely want to
No,
add into what Amanda was saying too, like that shift, like we were already doing it before COVID. So that's one of that exciting moments. Like she said, it was something we were doing before, but really what we've seen in the last 6 years have been incredible for teachers around their own practice, and really having a spot where we can actually capture all of that and actually uploading it to a platform. TORSH has been amazing through that process because we've been able to really being able to tag videos, their practices when it's happening in that moment. You can see that. You can give that supportive feedback, that constructive feedback. So it has been something that's really been very powerful here in New Mexico, Emily.
Yeah, it sounds like it. And just the whole coaching model and practice-based coaching model of, like you said, in that moment, Katrina, of being able to talk with teachers about what's working, what's not, brainstorm with them about what could have been done differently, and that growth that they have just as their children are growing, which is exciting. Yeah. Well, Amanda, you touched on some of the different ways that you're using practice-based coaching, and literacy and social emotional are one of them. And I know New Mexico, like many states, has really is focusing on structured literacy and has a structured literacy initiative, which of course is a different way than many teachers were taught in their teacher prep programs of how to approach literacy with those young learners. So can you give some specifics, about how the coaching has really worked in making that move towards the science of reading? Ginger, I think you're pretty involved in that area.
Absolutely. Emily, you mentioned that New Mexico has undertaken the work for structured literacy practices based on the science of reading research, because what was learned in the 50 years of that research was that the typical preparation that teachers were given has been debunked. And the older methods of reading instruction were mostly based on tradition and observation, but not the evidence. And so that is one of our focuses, is following the science of reading for our coaching. Our coaches are trained to coach early literacy skills using practice-based coaching techniques. They begin coaching with teachers. They set up an orientation meeting, and in that meeting, they meet with the administrator. They meet with the teachers to describe the process of practice-based coaching. We have an agreement that is signed at the orientation for the work that's going to be done. And part of that orientation is letting teachers know that, I think Amanda and Katrina both touched on this, that our coaches coach a teacher every 2 weeks. And with that routine and that, with doing that, it establishes a process where the teachers get feedback not on a big goal, but on a small goal based on a practice. And they also mentioned that we do provide feedback to the teachers, and part of the feedback is what we want them to be very reflective in their work, but we also want to be very supportive in the work that they're doing, and also provide what we call constructive feedback. So that whole process is done in that cycle. The teacher records themselves utilizing that practice. The coach receives that focused observation, does all that feedback. Katrina mentioned that the cycle is tagged when we see the practice occurring. And so, that type of feedback is saying, oh, yes, you're absolutely doing that practice, or, is there something that you could possibly change in order to do that practice just a little bit better? Because we know that student outcome is the ultimate goal for coaching. And the way that we do that is utilizing TORSH Talent, which is such a great platform for doing this work. And so we are big proponents of TORSH Talent. Our coaches, they just don't solely coach though. Many of our coaches also support teachers with the facilitation of professional learning. And our professional learning is based upon early literacy skills. So we spend a lot of time in the world of early literacy, and we feel that both together provides that well-rounded structure in supporting our teachers.
Yeah, that definitely sounds, again, they're learning something new, many of them, but this is brand new. So that really kind of scaffolded approach, like you said, practice by practice, can just make such a difference in their confidence and their ability to do things with fidelity in the classroom and make those gains for children. So definitely sounds like it's working. Terry, I think you had some insights just around the overall initiative in the state from the governor's perspective.
Yes, thank you, Emily. What's been fascinating in New Mexico is that the impetus to begin implementing structured literacy through the science of reading has really taken off across the state, not just in early childhood education. In fact, last year during the 2024 State of the State address, our governor, Michelle DeHaan Grisham, announced her literacy plan that would include a request from our legislators for $60 million. 30 million of that is to create what is being called a literacy institute. And then another 30 million is going to be allocated toward embedding structured literacy and the science of reading for over 10,000 students in the state every year. Additional funding has also been allocated to continue our early literacy coaching as part of our practice-based coaching model, which, by the way, does include structured literacy practices. And we've been doing this for actually more than 8 years. So in the state of New Mexico, we were actually ahead of our governor related to structured literacy and the science of reading.
But that's so heartening to hear that kind of attention has been drawn to it at the state level, and the support from the legislature that is wonderful news for your unit within CREC, but also for all of the children across New Mexico. So that's great to hear. So obviously academics are hugely important for all our young learners and our older learners too. But we also all know the role that the social emotional side of things takes with learning as well. And Amanda, I think you mentioned the pyramid model when you were talking about kind of the journey to practice-based coaching. So Terry, do you want to just talk a little bit about that pyramid implementation and how that's been working and used within the state?
Sure, thank you, Emily. And I think you touched on why we have implemented the pyramid model. I think early on, as we were building this practice-based coaching model and thinking about a menu of teaching practices that we would use, we recognize that unless students are ready to learn, it's hard to start learning the academics. And so the social emotional development of young children is so important. And we were looking for a model that would support that. About the same time, we had created a collaborative partnership with the Pyramid Consortium. And one of the things that they brought to New Mexico was the pyramid model. And we embraced it right away. With that and the Pyramid Consortium, we first started with them bringing in their national consultants and trainers to provide the pyramid model training. And then shortly after that, they offered us a training of trainers. And so we created a cohort of trainers of the pyramid model. Shortly afterward, they shared with us that they now had an online version of the pyramid model, and they had created a training where participants could complete the online modules, and there would be touch points in between that time frame where they would receive face-to-face facilitated application meetings. So we then began that process of rolling out the pyramid model in New Mexico. And the reason we did this, of course, New Mexico is a very rural state. It's a large state. And so doing face-to-face trainings was a challenge. But with this kind of hybrid model of some online training and then virtual face-to-face applications, we recognized that we were able now to reach a greater audience with this training with minimal travel for trainers or participants. It's been very successful. When the public education department invested in the pyramid model, they purchased 2,500 online seats or tokens. And we thought, oh, that's going to carry us on into infinity. We'll never use these tokens. Well, we've maxed out our tokens this year. So
Wow.
To date, we have trained over 2,500 early childhood educators and administrators utilizing this model. But we haven't just made the commitment that we would provide the training. We follow that up with our coaching in social emotional support practices. And many of the practices from the pyramid model you will find in our coaching menu of practices.
Yes, very comprehensive, and again, just so heartening to hear that that approach is being taken, and that those skills are being developed and nurtured in children. Katrina, I think you've worked in that area as well.
Yeah, and what's great is I was a coach before I became a coordinator. So I was out doing the coaching work as well. And really, we know what those skills, you have to teach those skills. And so when teachers are learning these practices, we're able to really support them with that. So if they're in that training, the pyramid training, we're providing them coaching around that for them. And so they can really focus in on what they're doing. So if it's around feelings, they maybe didn't before know to model, like, I need to model that emotion. Well, I'm super excited to the class, right? Well, why are you excited? Well, I'm super excited, everyone, today because I'm going to get to teach something new to you. Have you guys ever been excited? Can you please tell me when you've been excited? Oh, I've been excited when I see my mom when she picks me up, right? And so that starts that conversation. And so it's really helping them in that moment to see those learning opportunities and really having those tools all the time that they can use, right? And building the teacher's practice that will affect that child outcomes to improve. And so that's just one, but there's also like the problem solving, it can happen, right? Like when they're problem solving in the classroom and, you might have like a solution kit, but besides using that solution kit, you can put it over there. But if you don't teach the children how to utilize it, then they don't know how to go there, right? And once you start teaching them and modeling it for them, then they're going to be able to start solving some problems. And then you're going to have really good kiddos in your classroom that are solving problems, right? They're going to even help you solve problems at times too, right? Like if you're in a whole group and you can see that happening, but it's really teaching them, but it's supporting the teacher with their practice. And that's where we can really capture those moments where they're really focusing in on their practice and then also uploading it to TORSH and and then they can reflect on their own practice. And then we go in there as a coach and we support them by watching that focus observation multiple times so we can see it and then provide that feedback. Like we said, that supportive feedback and that constructive feedback to really support that teacher where they're at with their practice at that moment and where do they want to continue to grow on. And so we have teachers, they don't just stay on that practice for one cycle, they expand it. They keep building on it for multiple cycles to really be able to feel confident in that practice. So that's kind of what we're doing here right now around that pyramid model here in New Mexico.
That's exciting, and I want you to be my coach. I can already tell that you're exceptional at it. I'm excited listening to you talk. Oh, goodness. So we've talked a lot about the coaching model, and all of you have mentioned some of the different ways that you're using TORSH. But I'm just curious, let's go a little deeper into that. And Amanda, maybe you want to go through some of the specific ways that the coaches are using the platform to help them manage their coaching sessions, communicate with the educators.
Absolutely. So when we begin coaching with a teacher, they're issued a seat to the TORSH platform that pretty much gives them access to a community of educators and a community of coaches. Each coach is assigned a caseload, and that caseload is scheduled out on biweekly meetings for the entire year. We train teachers to capture the focused observation, upload it into the platform, and also to create a real-time stamping or comments. Chat box is what we call it because people are real familiar with that term around the practice that they're doing and what they're seeing in their own video with their students and in their classroom. As a teacher of many years, it's difficult to know exactly what you're doing until you step back and look at it in the film, if you will. And that is where we've heard teachers comment that they've seen their own celebrations, the things they're doing really, really well, as well as the things that they need to grow in. Once we get them established in the system, in the TORSH system, then we believe in New Mexico that everybody needs a coach. Everybody, from our teachers, our EAs, our coaches have coaches, our coordinators have coaches, because we just believe that you're never perfect at everything and that the research is ongoing. So we want to make sure that they are provided professional learning opportunities to grow. Our coaches go through a book study of the Essentials of Practice-Based Coaching book by Snyder and Fox, and then they do the online modules. And then throughout the year are continuously growing each other. So one of the things we recognized about midway through this journey is that our coaches are really good coaches. And the NFL doesn't get rid of really good coaches. Sometimes they just shift what they're coaching or who they're coaching. So this year, and I'm going to toss it to Katrina because she's going to talk a little bit about what our coaches are doing for one another. But we partnered with Garrity Education Team, and she has a PD project where she teaches coaches and coaches to coach. But what we found was that our coaches are really skilled coaches, and the platform allows us to do so much more than just coach teachers. So I'm going to let Katrina talk to you a little bit about the ongoing professional learning of our own coaches.
Amanda. So yeah, you're right. So we start with the PD project and our coaches stay in there for a year. Once they do that, then we shift them into where they have the opportunity to do peer-to-peer coaching. And so that's where they, two coaches together, they're working together around the same practice and they're focusing on the same practice. And then they're recording a piece that they're really focusing on for themselves and they upload it and they actually merge these two focus observation videos together. Then they're able to watch their own, provide themselves with some reflective feedback there, and then they're able to respond to their peer. And so that's where we're getting that shift where they can dive in and see it a little bit differently on their peer and then provide that supportive and that constructive feedback to them as well. And so that process with that peer-to-peer coaching has been a huge shift here in New Mexico. So we've been doing that for about 3 years. And so, like we said, we've been doing practice-based coaching as a whole in New Mexico for 6 years. And now, we did the PD project. And so it's just been neat how we've been able to expand our growth and knowing, like Amanda said, everyone needs a coach and everyone can benefit from a coach, right? No matter what we're doing. And that's what we're really seeing with our coaches, them coaching each other up, right? And them growing together. And so that's where they stay with each other for a whole year. And then we switch partners the next year for them. And so they're able to do like self-assessments on themselves. So it's just great how there's multiple layers with it to support them within that growing piece. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about too is around our surveys. So I wanted to kind of share maybe some of the data around our surveys. And so recently we did our end of the year survey, and 87% of teachers improved their teaching practice as a result of practice-based coaching. That's amazing. We say 87%. Emily, oh my gosh, like, we're hitting there. We're really at that point, which is exciting. And I have another one that I want to share too. So 92% of our teachers stated that they have improved teaching skills in specific ways that aligned with evidence-based teaching practices because of practice-based coaching too. So that evidence-based, they're aligning it now, right? It's not just like, hey, I'm going to use this and great, it looks like a great thing to use today. No, they're really using that evidence-based practices and it's aligning it for themselves now. And so they're seeing those connections, and that's what we were hoping for them to have. And I also wanted to share a couple quotes as well from teachers. And so here's one from one of our teachers. And it says this, it says, the help of practice-based coaching is needed for all teachers, even those experienced or highly effective teachers. Thank you for all your help, and I look forward to the next school year. So this teacher sees exactly what Amanda is saying. It's not for those brand new teachers. It's not for those teachers that have been teaching 10 to 15 years, or it's not even those teachers that are around 25 plus years. It is for all teachers. All teachers can benefit from it. And so when I read that, I was like, wow, that is so powerful that this teacher is using this opportunity. She has this opportunity, and that's what it is. We're giving teachers opportunities to shift their own practice. And our last one, Emily, that I want to share with all of our listeners out there right now is I've learned a lot of good things and new techniques, and it has really been useful doing letters along with practice-based coaching. So they see that alignment. So like what Ginger is saying around our PL opportunities that we're giving teachers, they are using that in their coaching. We're seeing that alignment. We're taking that training, besides just going and taking a professional learning, they're putting it into practice right away. And so that is something that when I'm reading these comments at times, I'm just like, that's what we're seeing, the change and the shift of it. Right before, I used to go to trainings and I might put that in, and guess what, I might get 10% out of that training. But now with coaching, we're seeing 95% return on our investment now. And that's what teachers want. They want to know that their time is valued and that they are making that change.
I don't even know where to begin, Katrina, because that was so much good stuff. But what all of you have said, I love this kind of culture of continuous improvement that the coaching really nurtures, of that we all can get better, and we want to get better for ourselves and better for the children that we're serving and their families that they're serving, and that it's exciting. I mean, I think that those quotes that you read, Katrina, just really showed how energizing it is for educators to be learning. I mean, you're a teacher, you're a lifelong learner, you love learning, and you're giving them those opportunities to learn new things and be more effective and see themselves grow and children grow. And that's really wonderful. And it's great to hear that the educators are responding so well. I think we hear all too often in the news, and not that it's not true, but just teacher retention, teacher unhappiness, and to hear just how, again, excited your teachers are to be doing what they're doing is wonderful. It's really great to hear. So thank you for bringing those quotes. Those were a good addition to the conversation.
Yes, you're welcome.
So Emily, I just wanted to add too that there's another exciting thing that we're working on for this year. And it is it's another component of TORSH Talent that we are going to be working with a group of coaches in, and it's the learning paths. So we're going to learn the ins and outs of the components of that program. We're going to develop early literacy content courses for our coaches so that they can continually build and maintain their coaching early literacy skills. And as you said, we know that we're all lifelong learners, and that's one of the important components. When we interview people, we want to know, are you a lifelong learner? Do you have that growth mindset? And so that's something that we strive for in our work. And we're so excited to use the learning paths in TORSH Talent and learning about it so that we can just continually grow. And my goal is to first start with our coaches and then eventually move to the teachers so that they can continue to grow their early literacy skills, because we know early literacy is a huge undertaking. And it's not just you go through a training and you know how to teach a child how to read. It doesn't work that way. It is a vast amount of research and learning that has to be done so that we can get those skills across to the children. And we've just got a lot of work to do, and we're really excited to do that.
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Ginger, because I think, as Katrina said, that kind of pairing of the professional learning, the training type stuff. So, whether that's through a workshop or with these new learning pathways where the educators may be going through different courses and segments on their own, and then pairing that with the coaching, that's just really the winning combination, because you're putting into practice what you're learning, and just like we've talked about before, the kind of chunking out of the information because there's so much to learn and then to put into practice and then to perfect yourself at. So it's not just learning it and using it once, it's better and better at it. So I think that the way you're pairing those practices, I think is really great. And it's great that TORSH is able to support both that coaching and the training piece of it. So thanks for sharing that, Ginger. And that actually was a beautiful segue into my final question for all of you, which is kind of where you're heading with coaching. So how have things evolved in the 6 years that you've been, I think you said 6 years that you've been doing the practice-based coaching, and kind of how have you been responding to some of the lessons learned along the way? I think folks tuning in always kind of love to learn from your experiences so that they can implement those. So Ginger kind of kicked us off, but Terry, do you want to chime in next?
Yes, thank you. So as my colleagues this morning have shared, this has been a journey for us. And as I reflect back and think about when we were first looking to adjust how we supported teachers with professional development and moving from a consultative model to a coaching model, it was a real shift for us. And if you were to interview individuals back 6 years ago who were making the shift from being a consultant to a coach, that was a big shift for them. It was changing how they supported teachers, but not only how they supported teachers, it was a change for themselves internally. If I can just say, Emily, usually a consultant is someone that's very comfortable going in and sharing all of their knowledge with someone else, right? They're consulting and they want to share all the different ways to to change. However, a coach is very different. A coach actually pulls out that information and knowledge from the coachee by asking reflective questions and so forth. So this was a real shift for us. When we were asked to do that, we thought, well, we'd start with a real small sampling. In fact, when we started 6 years ago, we only had 2 coaches and about 50 preschool teachers. And we thought, well, that's comfortable for us. We can handle that. But each year, our funder added more and more teachers. And then within 3 years, we were asked to scale it to 100% of all the preschool teachers in school-based settings, not just New Mexico pre-K, but then our Office of Special Education said, we want the same model for our special ed preschool teachers. So it grew exponentially. Another thing that happened in our state, excuse me, was that there's a real push for New Mexico pre-K to be universal for all 4-year-olds. So that meant more classrooms and more classroom teachers to support with practice-based coaching. Now we're almost at 100% for all 4-year-olds, the opportunity. So now the push is shifting for all 3-year-olds. So just imagine how exponentially this is happening. If we had known that this was going to happen, we might have built with that in mind. But really, truly, I think we are the type of individuals in our state that will pivot and shift as we need to when growth happens, and we make it happen. And I think that that's just a testimony to the dedication of not only the individuals here with you today, but our educators, our funders, our state leaders. We all are seeing this in this same way. What I wanted to say, though, is that what we have truly appreciated is TORSH's willingness to grow with us as we have adjusted our model and expanded in population with our model. Every time we do that, and we have our monthly meeting with our TORSH representative, it's always yes, but, and then we bring this new idea to the table, right? And I so appreciated that maybe the adjustment doesn't happen right away, but they're always taking it back to the team and making the needed adjustments, not only for New Mexico, but I think for all of your clients right now. So just wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, we appreciate that. And I would say TORSH has that same kind of continuous improvement mindset that you all do too. There's always more to be done. There's always things to add to make it better and easier to use and to fit with the different programs that are out there and what you're trying to accomplish. So thanks for sharing that, Terry. Sure. Let's see, Amanda, do you want to go next?
Sure, Emily, thanks. And you said something about growth and timing, and it made me think about one of our leaders a few years ago used to say, we only have these 4-year-olds for a short period of time, so the impact we can make in those children's lives is really limited, and they're only 4 once, so we got to get it right. I think that sat with each of us in our hearts, and it really has driven this growth and this intentionality to go to the coaching model. The data that has been asked of us in the last few years has increased because more money equals more demand for proof that it's working, right? And all of those. But I agree with Terry. I think that TORSH has been on board with us and has adapted to give us what we need. We're able to pull data at the drop of a fingertip when we're asked for it, and really show the growth and the intentionality of the coaching that's happening, which I think is going to make a big difference, because it's so true. We have to have teachers in the field who are not experts, but are willing to continue growing as our kids change, as society changes, as the research changes. And good coaches just keep coaching when those changes happen. But we need a place to do it, and really just to optimize everyone's time, because those kids are only 3 or 4 for a limited time, and we have a very small window to make an impact.
Yeah, that's very powerful, and I think probably a driving force for many of the people joining us today of just really wanting to have the greatest impact possible, and setting those kiddos on the best path possible for their futures. So that was a great sentiment to share. How about you, Katrina?
Yeah. So just a little bit of like when I'm reflecting on our like starting of, utilizing practice-based coaching here in New Mexico, teachers first were like, no, I don't want to videotape myself. I don't like what I look
Right.
like, or, my voice or whatever it is, right? Like there's all of these things. Eventually what happened was like, we would coach them through that. Like, don't worry, we're not looking at like what kind of clothes you're wearing that day or anything like that. We're really just focusing on that practice. Once they got over that, they were like, oh my gosh, I can do this. Okay, I can record myself. Wow, I can upload it to TORSH Talent. So they learned about how to utilize TORSH, right? Like we can't break TORSH, and that's something that we always say, like we're not going to break TORSH. And when you don't, and there are simplified things that we can do to like support teachers learning how to utilize TORSH Talent. But once they do, they're very comfortable uploading their focus observation, time stamping for themselves, and responding back to questions maybe that we might have posted for them as a coach. And so that is something I think that's super powerful too, is the platform is really user friendly, and that's important. And we wanted something here in New Mexico that was going to be user friendly, that teachers were going to have confidence as they were moving through this. And that is one thing that I felt that has been a nice shift for us here in New Mexico, is that we went to this platform and it is working, and it is working well for us. And we're only continuing to use more of it. And like Amanda says, like that data piece, you can't beat that when you can get all of that data that you need for whatever is happening that we're trying to capture. But even for us as coordinators, like we talked about, the parallel process of coaching, it's not just for our teachers, it's not just for our coaches, it's also for us. We enter our own goals in there and we set them, and we look at our action steps, and did we meet that action step? Do we need to tweak something for next time? And so we're being coached as well through it. And so we utilize the platform for ourselves as well. And so it has definitely been that game changer here in New Mexico for us. And I'm very thankful for it. But, and like Ginger said too, the thing that I was thinking about, the learning paths that we're going to start diving into more, but also that we have this resource library. And so I know that we've been building that through this time with exemplar videos from teachers here in New Mexico. So when we see that practice done well and at a high level, it goes through our whole process to see if it meets every qualification. Then we put it up where we can share that focus observation video with other teachers here in New Mexico. So we are sharing within that platform that really supports growth too. And so I just wanted to share those great things too, and how we're kind of utilizing it. We're going to continue to utilize it. And like Amanda said, like there's always more stuff coming. And Terry said that too, like there's more things always coming. And that's what we appreciate too. Like we provide feedback, what we're doing to build on it. And so it's just a great thing that we are doing here in New Mexico. And we would love to do coaching with everyone, and that's what we're trying to do, is what I would say. Our goal is to coach everyone, and at a high quality too. So
Yeah, I agree. Everybody needs a coach. It's
Emily,
so
I can
valuable.
coach you now.
Yes, I want that, Katrina. I love too what you said about the technology being easy, because it's so important. We don't want technology to get in the way. We want technology to be in the background and just facilitating what you're trying to do and accomplishing those goals for the coaching program, but also for the individuals, who are learning through the training, through the coaching, through the exemplars, all of that stuff. So yeah, technology is the tool, shouldn't be the hurdle to accomplishing things. So
And
Ginger,
that's
you
so
kind of,
true. I was going to say one last thing real fast. I'm like,
yeah,
that's so true when you said like we want it to be in the background. One of the coolest things too is they have an app, and so like as soon as that teacher's done recording, it goes up to the cloud and it goes onto the platform. So like teachers don't have to like, if they forgot, like they don't have to forget, because they just finish it and it goes up to
right.
the cloud and it can be shared with their coach. So that's where, like what you said, in the background, it's naturally doing great things for us too. So just wanted to add that.
Yeah, no, that's a great example. And yeah, when technology really can make things easier for us, like you said, the teacher doesn't have to remember. It just happens, and they shouldn't have to have that thing on their to-do list, right? They did their great teaching practice, and that's what they need to focus on, not pushing buttons to upload things. So that was an awesome example. Ginger, you kind of kicked us off, but I don't know if you want to say any final words on this particular journey and lessons learned.
Well, and when I was first hired, I was hired right when practice-based coaching was started, and went through the training of practice-based coaching. And I can just say that with Terry's lead, this whole team has made so much progress in the work that we've done. And I think back to the very first day that I saw TORSH, and we were like, here's TORSH. Okay. So it was myself and another coach, and I would figure out something, and she would call me, or I would call her and say, hey, TORSH does this and TORSH does that. And she would, it's just been such a learning experience with TORSH, but also building the relationship that we have as, I can't remember who said it. I think Terry, you said it, with the consultant with TORSH. Having that monthly meeting has been so helpful. And one of these days, TORSH is going to give Katrina the glitter that she wants. So, yeah.
It's been stated here, so it's gotta happen.
Yes.
She and I actually met with developers with TORSH one time, and she was like, I want glitter. When a teacher finally meets their goal, there should be glitter. And they were like, huh.
Yeah.
So, just being open and having that great work relationship with TORSH and the work that we've done, it's a job that I never thought I would be partaking in. And it's just been a journey of ups and downs and bumps and celebrations, and so glad to be on this journey. So thank you for allowing us to meet with you today and your audience, and just can't wait to see what happens in the next 6 years.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Ginger. And yes, TORSH definitely values this partnership, and has really enjoyed being on the journey with you all too, and learning and evolving together. Again, ultimately to serve all those children in the great state of New Mexico. They are lucky to have all of you leading this charge and bringing the best practices to them again. So we have that great foundation as they head into their futures.
Emily, if I could, I'd just like to add, we really want to thank all of the coaches in New Mexico that work daily in TORSH Talent with those teachers. We could definitely not do this work without each of them, and the time and the dedication. You heard each of us talk about our passion for New Mexico educators and children. They all share in that passion, and it really is what drives this project to be as successful as it is. So just a quick thank you to our team and some recognition for the work they do in your platform every day.
Yeah, thank you, Amanda. That's such an important shout out, because yeah, the people in the classroom, the people coaching those teachers, that is not an easy job, and they are doing great work there in New Mexico. You are lucky to have them. It's a great team, it sounds like. So thanks for adding that in. Thank you, all of you, for being here. This has just been a wonderful conversation, and lots of learning and insights for our audience today, and both about practice-based coaching, the pyramid model, and of course the many features of TORSH that can support coaches and educators, whatever state they may be in. So we have had another person patiently waiting in the wings throughout this discussion, who I'm going to welcome to join us here in a second. John Williams with TORSH, who I know you in New Mexico have talked a lot to. John is with us and is just going to share a little bit more information about how the TORSH online professional learning and coaching platform supports educator learning and effectiveness. So welcome, John.
Thanks, Emily. At TORSH, we're so excited to partner with New Mexico and the powerful work they're doing across the state to help improve early childhood education. Here at TORSH, we partner for the last 11 years. We partner with hundreds of organizations across more than 35 states. I want to give you just a quick overview of the talent platform that's the backbone for the work that's happening in New Mexico, but with other organizations also. The talent platform supports coaching, mentoring, technical assistance with powerful features that support hybrid, in-person, and remote models. Supports evidence-based feedback with observations, checklists, goals, action steps, a variety of features and functionality that help you deliver quality coaching and technical assistance to your users. Additionally, we have partners that are interested in collaborative learning and teaming, and the talent platform supports mentor to mentee or peer-to-peer collaboration. It has resource library, exemplar library functionality, all with groups, discussion groups, and sharing functionality. So it provides quality features that support collaborative learning and teaming within your organization. I also have some partners that are interested in delivering training and professional development. And we do that through TORSH Talent by features and functionality that supports credentialing, certification, micro-learning, on-demand asynchronous content, adaptive learning, all things you'd expect to see in a learning management system. What we've done is taken LMS functionality and placed it inside of a coaching and learning platform, which is really powerful to our partners. And lastly, this is backed by data and insights. Talent has over 20 pre-built reports. Custom report builder allow you to build your own reports to pull your own data. And this is all structured around the data-informed decision-making model, which is really about measuring effort, how much work you're doing, fidelity, what's the quality of the work that you're doing, and then impact, what outcomes are you getting from this? So all the data is designed around this model to make it easy for our customers to pull the data they need to see for their individual needs. There have been lots of research studies done on TORSH Talent. This study done by Child 360, the purpose of the study was really to show the impact and the power of on-site coaching, in-person coaching versus blended and online. The data shows something different. The blended model had the most outcomes that they could expect. With the blended coaching model, which is really in-person and hybrid online, they were able to increase their reach. They were able to get to more people to coach. They increased their coaching dosage, which is important. That means because they were so productive, they were able to do more coaching. And this was more affordable, and they maintained the same level of quality. So you can see some of the metrics they hit at the bottom: 20% reduction in coaching time, 68% drive time, which you would expect with a hybrid solution, and an overall reduction in cost of their program of 22%. So I encourage you all to actually download this report and read all the details about it. So again, thanks to our partners in New Mexico for a powerful webinar. If you are interested in learning more about TORSH and our TORSH Talent platform and how it can support your coaching and professional learning goals, please reach out to us. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much, John. If you are interested, anyone in our audience, in speaking with someone on the TORSH team about using the platform to support your coaching and professional learning, you can reach out to us by visiting torsh.co. And there's lots of opportunities on the website to learn more and also to request a consultation and a demo. So I want to do a final thank you to the Central Region Educational Cooperative for being here with us today. Terry, Ginger, Amanda, and Katrina. This was just a wonderful conversation, and I really am honored to have spent this time with you, and hope we'll have the opportunity to chat again in the future. And thanks everyone for joining us today, and thank you for all you do to support children and their families. Your work really makes a difference, and we appreciate it. So have a great rest of your day, everyone, and we'll hope to talk to you again soon.